Kick
Okay.
So
David, welcome, David. David here is with BMI, and he's going to give you some information. And anyone who has questions along the way can put it in the chat or raise their hand. But I think that you probably want to let's give David a little time to give us an overview of everything. And excited to have you with us, David. Welcome.
Thanks so much, Rebecca. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. It's nice to see everybody. So I am the Senior Director of Creative here in the Los Angeles office of BMI. I've been at BMI for about 7.5 years. And prior to BMI, I have failed my way through many different music industry jobs, several, in fact. I was a drummer at one point. I played guitar and keys, and I was awful. I was a composer who composed for commercials, and I had a Super Bowl commercial back in 2013, about 12 years ago. I was a music supervisor because my music wasn't that good at the time, and I was pitching my friend's music, who was better than mine. I used to DJ and play shows. I was a manager for 3.5 years. I did playback for bands on the road doing their backing track, and we did Coachella and all these huge festivals all over the world. And I lived on a tour bus for a little bit. Um,
Wow.
I've done a lot, and I failed my way through every single one of those things, which is how you learn. But I've been at BMI now for 7.5 years, and so definitely the longest music job that I've had. And if they don't fire me, I hope to stay here for many more years. Um, I feel like BMI is one of those things in the industry that you sign up because someone told you you needed to. And people know that there's some sort of royalty element to it, but it's a big mystery for most of the people that I speak with. And I'm talking everybody from people who are just starting out to people who have been in the to prominent, entertainment attorneys who have been in the industry for 30 years. So hopefully maybe I can give some backstory as to what exactly BMI is, why we exist. I have a cool kind of origin story that I like to share. So yeah, do you want me to dive in, or did you have any questions up front, or?
I think that diving in is a good idea, and then
Okay,
maybe you can also along the way ask if anyone has questions.
perfect. Yeah. So let me give I guess, a little overview, and then we'll go from there. So first of all, I just want to say that there's many different music royalties out there. And there are royalties that are given for the composition, which is like the underlying song or whatever would fit on sheet music, like lyrics and melody, right? So there's royalties for the composition, and there's royalties for the master, which is the actual recorded version of the song. And the reason why there's all these different types of royalties is because compositions and masters can be used in different ways by businesses. So for each different way that they're using your music, there is a different royalty. So some people like to group all music royalties under one little box, and I don't like to do that because I think that these things are wildly different. All these royalties legally work differently. They're collecting for different types of usages. It's kind of like combining all transportation vehicles into one category. And it's like, okay, a jumbo jet is going to be different from a pair of roller skates, right? So royalties are all very different. And so it's important to really think of them as different things. And so what we do at BMI is we are helping to pay one type of royalty, and that's it. So we're just kind of one cog in a much bigger system, if you will. And the one royalty that we help to pay is called performance royalties. And when most people hear the word performance, they kind of think like live performance. And we do pay for live performances, but that's not technically what this word means, I guess, in this context. What performance means really in our world is being played out loud by a business. So let's say that your song is played out loud on the radio. Okay, well, the radio station is a business and they have advertisements, so they make ad revenue. And if they're playing your song, which you own, and that's making people tune into the station, which is then allowing them to sell ads, they're using your song as part of their business. And so theoretically, you should then get part of the proceeds of that, right? You should get part of the profit there. And that's what performance royalties are. So every time your song is played out loud by a business, you get a royalty. So it's played out loud by the radio, played out loud on TV, played out loud in a bar or restaurant, streamed out loud on Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora, YouTube, any of these online companies. So that's essentially what we do. So when you think about it, if you release some music out in the ether and it's on all of these platforms all over the world and it's being played on radio, as an individual songwriter or a publisher, how do you know where your song is being played and how many times it's being played and how to get in touch with the owner and how much to invoice them for? And it's almost like an impossible task. And so I think the way around this is people say, okay, we should have one company that kind of does all this for us. And that's typically how it seems to work best. And that's what we are at BMI. So we are what's called a performing rights organization, or a PRO for short. And we go out and we license businesses that are playing music out loud. So we go to that radio station and we say, you're playing music out loud as part of your business. You need to pay all of the publishers who own these songs and all the songwriters who wrote these songs. We basically get a license fee from them, so some sort of revenue. And then we also get data from them as to what they've played. And we do a bunch of complex math. You guys, as publishers and writers who register your music, can register everything with us, tell us what you've released, who owns what percentage of what, and then we will see if your song's being played. If so, we will calculate what your slice of the pie is. We'll pay that out to you and everybody else, depending on how you register the song with us. So that is like a very cut and dry thing that we do. We license all these businesses and we collect all these royalties, and it's a very important royalty to collect. Most countries around the world have a PRO, and typically there's only one for the whole country. So normally it's almost like the DMV or the post office, right? They perform this one basic service and that's it. And we all work together. And so if your royalties, let's say that you have being played on the radio in France, okay, well the PRO there, SACEM, they collect all of your royalties from all the businesses within France. Then they see, well, where are you signed up? And let's say you're signed up with BMI in the US. They say, great, they're going to send all of the royalties they've collected for you over to BMI, and BMI is going to pass those royalties on to you. And that's going to happen automatically. So for our little royalty, we pay worldwide. We only collect from the US directly as BMI, but we partner with all of the other PROs around the world, and it's a big spider web. And that's how it works. It takes a very long time to get paid, which is kind of the nature of what we do, but that's the way it works. And I can explain, I guess, more in detail with that later. One of the interesting things, though, that I'll bring up is that because we have multiple PROs here in the US, we're a little bit different from other places. So as I said before, most of the time in a country, most countries around the world, they have one PRO for the whole country. In the US, we have ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, GMR. There's a bunch of smaller ones that have come out like PRO, Music Rights, Sound Reap. I mean, All Track. You have a ton of different PROs that have kind of entered the marketplace. And the downside to that is that it makes licensing here infinitely more complex. But the plus to that is that we compete. And so we try to offer the best rates and we try to provide the best service. And it really, I think, forces the PROs here to try to provide the most opportunity for our members. And in that, we do a little bit of extra. So we're not just collecting the royalties and paying them out. We also provide a lot of cool creative opportunities. And that's technically the department that I'm in is in the creative department. So not only will I help with all of the nitty-gritty customer service things, from very simple questions to very highly complex questions, but we also have like mixers, and we just had a showcase at Hotel Cafe on Monday, which is a Songwriter in the Round showcase. Tonight we're doing one of my colleagues is doing a showcase at the Thompson Hotel. I send collaboration ideas to people when they ask. I'll get on the phone and talk through various publishing questions, and I have two deals, and who do you think I should go with? And we provide we have a Spotify playlist. We have articles on the website where we try to promote people, all sorts of things. And we actually have a brand new program that I wanted to mention called Spark. Spark is a relatively new program, and we've actually partnered. Pandion is one of our partners there.
Woohoo! We are
So
excited about that.
yeah, we're excited about it too. It's essentially so first thing I want to say is it's a music creator-led program. So the people internally we have working on it are all music creators like myself. And basically the idea behind Spark is we've partnered with several organizations outside of BMI that offer things like educational resources and discounts, et cetera, to our members. And all of these different organizations are kind of grouped into three categories. So we have one that's essentially career development, which is focused on music creation and growing your fan base. There's one section on learning and connecting, which is focused on education. And you know, there's going to be more articles, and that's going to be expanded more as time goes on. And then we have another one on well-being and support, which is focused on mental health. And we're also kind of working on some travel discounts in there as well. So there's a lot of discounts that we're offering to our members, a lot of great educational resources. As I said, Pandion Music Foundation is one of our partners there, which we're really excited about. I will say too that we're kind of still early in the process. So every distribution where we pay royalties, we're going to announce a few more partners. We're going to try to keep building this out. And I will also say everybody who we partner with, we've vetted. We want to make sure that we're partnering with the best. And you know, just like Pandion. So that's kind of Spark. That's a new initiative that we're working on as well. I'll pause there. I've spoken for a long time, so I'll pause there, and we can kind of see if there's any other questions.
Does BMI have a public charity aspect to it, 501(c)(3)?
There is we have the BMI Foundation. Now, this is technically legally a separate organization.
Okay.
Because yes, it is classified tax-wise differently. But we do have the BMI Foundation. One of my colleagues, Deirdre Chadwick, works very closely with that organization. And so frequently, yes, we'll have various scholarships and opportunities there as well.
Okay, cool. That's a nice one thing that you do on the side. Anybody have questions, raise your hand or ask in the chat. Or if you want to introduce yourself.
If not, while we wait, I was going to say I could explain how PROs started. I think it's kind of an interesting story. I don't know if
Sure.
you're interested in it. This always made me like understand exactly what because it's such a weird kind of esoteric thing. Oh, we have one hand. Well, maybe I'll explain this real fast and then we'll go.
Okay.
So we're going to travel back in time, everybody. We're going to go all the way back to the mid 1800s, and we're going to be in Paris, France. I don't know if anybody here has been to Paris. I haven't been in 17 years, but I'm going soon, which I'm very excited
Last year.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. So there's a famous street that most of you probably know about in Paris called the Champs-Élysées. And that's a very famous kind of shopping street. And right off of that, there was this theater. And it's still there. It's called something different. But back then it was called Les Ambassadeurs. And it was essentially a concert cafe, which is fancy French for like nightclub. And there was a composer who was very big in Paris at the time who was hanging out there. Again, this is like 1850 something. And he heard the band start to play one of his songs. And at first he was probably flattered. And by the way, I am going to embellish this whole story. At first he was flattered. And then he started thinking about it. And he's like, let me get this straight. The door guy is making money here. Everybody who's in the band is making money to play. All the waiters and chefs are making money being here. The bartender's making money. And he's like, but he's looking around at all the tables and he's seeing people nodding to his music and they really like it. And because they like the vibe of it, they're ordering another bottle of wine and they're ordering more food. And it's making more people want to come in. And he's like, you know what? Like, I should get paid something. Like, I wrote the song that they're playing and I should get paid something. Maybe not all of the money, but a portion of the money. I think that that's fair. And when you think about it, if I'm Shakespeare and I write Romeo and Juliet, and then two countries over at some playhouse, they do Romeo and Juliet based on the play I wrote, I should get some portion of those ticket sales. And that's normally the way it works. So it should work the same for music. If you write the song, even if you're not the one playing it on stage, you should get some portion of that money. And the story goes, this guy ordered a bunch of wine and food and then left without paying. And the maitre d' chased him down the street and said, sir, you got to pay for your 9 bottles of champagne. Like, that wasn't cheap. And he said, I will pay for my champagne when you pay me for my music. And that was basically something that he started to tell to other composers Other composers got involved. It went all the way up to the French Supreme Court at the time, and they said, this makes sense. Like, yeah. And so the first PRO ever was created in France. And this is, at this point, we're looking at 175 years ago. And so obviously things have changed since then, but still the first PRO ever was SACEM in France. BMI was started in 1939. And so now most major countries around the world have a PRO. Some still don't. Some are too small for it to warrant one. But I will say we're actually helping to open up a new PRO right now in the UAE, in the Middle East, to help license all those businesses in Dubai and Doha and all these places to help unlock more money for our members and, quite frankly, other members of other societies. So anyways, that was my quick story to explain why all of this is the way it is. Um,
Excuse me?
yes.
Do you have a PRO in India?
Yes, there is a PRO in India. I wouldn't say we have a PRO in India, but there is a PRO because it's different people. But we do have a partnership with them, and they are called IPRS. I forget what exactly IPRS stands for, but yeah, IPRS is in India.
Thank you.
Michelle, go ahead and unmute.
Yeah, hi.
Oh,
Hi, David.
hi.
So, David, thank you. Since you're talking about international things, yesterday a publisher was telling me how they represented a PRO, like they were the formal representative of a PRO in South Africa. So this, I think actually the other way around. They were saying that CSAC was
Hmm.
represented by this particular publishing company in South Africa. I thought that the PROs were kind of neutral, working with all the publishing companies. So I'm kind of wondering if the publishing company represents CSAC, how does that work? Right? Because there are millions of publishing companies in South Africa.
I'm I would want to talk to that person because something about that doesn't make sense to me. But I'll say how it generally works, and then we can kind of go from there. Um, the first thing I want to define is the word publisher, because I think I hear this word used incorrectly at least once a week.
Yeah, so there are my sub publishers in South Africa. They're one of the biggest sub publishing companies in South Africa called Gresham Music.
Yeah. I'm just saying for the rest of
Oh,
the
okay.
clientele. So, what a publisher is, a lot of people that I speak to think of almost like book publishing, where if someone says, "I'm getting my book published," and they think that they associate publishing with putting out music. In the music world, publishing, that's not what publishing means. In the music world, publishing essentially just means the owner of a composition. So if I say that I'm publishing this song, that's just another way of me saying I own this composition, this song, or I'm one of the owners of this song, right? And so as a publisher, there's many different royalties that you could collect. You could be your own publisher, you could be self-published, or you could be published by others, another company, let's say. Um, let's say that you have your own publishing company, and you want to collect all of your royalties. There are a few different types of publishing income. One of them is performance, which is what we pay at BMI. One of them is mechanicals. There are sync fees. There's certain print royalties. There's various things. When you sign up to a publishing company that offers administration, like Michelle is saying, one of the benefits of that is that they will have a worldwide network. So yes, you could just sign up to BMI and you could collect all of your worldwide performance royalties, but that's a lot more difficult to do with other royalties like mechanicals. And so if you work with one of these administrators, they essentially will have a worldwide network. Well, they will have people on the ground in most countries. And so they'll have, they'll be collecting performance royalties directly from a lot of different PROs, and they'll be collecting mechanicals from each country. And sometimes they have things called sub-publishers, where it's like, this is my publisher who collects my music in this specific country, right? And so it's very common sometimes for a publisher to have a publishing account with every PRO all over the world, right? And so, yeah, Michelle, that's the backstory. Now, some publishers, let's say they create a CSAC publishing account. CSAC is a PRO in the US, okay? They could list that CSAC publishing account with every PRO around the world. They could register and they could just list that CSAC publishing account on the work, theoretically. And then all the money would flow to CSAC. So maybe that's what they're talking about, but the framing of the question sounds strange.
That they were the sole main publisher working with CSAC in South Africa, and that made absolutely no sense to me.
Yeah, I can't really speak to that. It sounds,
To ask tonight
yeah,
at CSAC film and TV dinner, because I was so like, huh, how does that work? That
yeah.
doesn't make sense. But the other thing you just brought up, if it's okay if I ask another question, the other thing you just brought up is very pertinent to something that happened to me recently. As I was trying to educate a Facebook group about publishing a song, just like you said.
Yeah.
And they beat me up because I said, well, when you make a song, there's a writer share, there's a publisher share. If you don't have another publisher, you are the publisher of the song. Right? Just like you just said, we know that is correct. They beat me up saying, well, the song is not published because it's not been released, basically. And I said, I published the song. The song is published by me. You're talking about releasing a song, publication, but that's
Yes.
not published. So
Yes. So this is what I was referring to. Many people mix it up, which is fine. But a lot of people don't know the definitions, right? So the way that we work at BMI is we pay half of our royalties to the songwriters who created a song, the creators of the song, and then we pay the other half of our royalties to the publishers, aka the owners of the song. And most of the time, the songwriter and the publisher are going to be the same person. If I write a song right now and I create a song, I'm the songwriter, but then I'm also by default going to own the thing that I just created, right? And then let's say that Michelle and I write a song together. Okay, now we're both songwriters. Let's say we're splitting it 50-50. Well, we're also probably going to own half and half of the song as well. So we're going to be 50-50 publishers. This is how it's supposed to work. Not every royalty works like this. And I want to stress that every royalty is different. So for mechanicals, that's only paid to the publisher. They don't care who the songwriter is. Legally, they're paying the owner, which is the publisher. Performance royalties, which is what we do, half goes to the writers, half goes to the publishers. So every royalty is slightly different, right? But yeah, there's a lot of confusion out there. But that's why I do these calls, because I want to spread the good word, and I want it to come straight from the horse's mouth so that people understand when they see these terms. A lot of people really don't know what the definitions are, and it creates confusion. And yeah, so you are correct. Publisher means owner of a song in the music world.
and of course, because I teach a course, I knew I was correct. It's kind of like
Yeah.
but this group beat me up so badly that it was amazing. They just beat me up,
Well, next time you text me and
I'm going to, yes.
I'll come in with boxing gloves and I'll provide backup.
Thank you. Yes. Yes, but it's good to explain to everybody here because that's so important. Thank you for clarifying.
Yes.
Yes, I'm going to do that.
Trying to figure out how to raise my hand.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I usually know how. My name's Kerry. I've been with BMI a lot. I worked in IT for about 6 months once too. So
Oh, nice. Awesome.
I was back in the late 90s. We're actually doing the checks. I don't know if they still probably don't do checks
do
anymore.
checks for some people. So yeah.
But to the publishing point, my question is, well, I don't want to mention the MLC totally yet, but like you're saying, when you own it, well, when it's played, it's yours. And from some of my things I've listed, there's actually a publishing number and there's a songwriter composite, the actual number of the composition on the thing. So I'm just asking, is if I don't have a publisher, like I don't, but is BMI, how does that publisher number work?
I totally understood yes, I know what you mean. So let me unpack this for everybody. So as I said before, for performance royalties, and this isn't just a BMI thing, this is like every PRO all over the world that pays performance royalties. This is how they do it. They pay writers and they pay publishers, right? And so with us at BMI, you can sign up for a songwriter account to collect your songwriter share of the royalties. And you can sign up for a publishing account to collect the publishing share. And this is the way that most PROs around the world work. And for your writer account, you're going to be given a number called an IPI number, which stands for Interested Parties Information Number. It's a very weird term, but it is what it is. And this is like your license plate. So let's say that your name is John Smith. Well, that's going to be really hard to collect your royalties if you don't have some sort of identification number next to your name, right? Because how do you know you're paying the right John Smith? And we have a John Smith in here. So John, I'm calling you out right now. But point being is the IPI number is like what links your account specifically to that work. So it's really important to be like, this is my name, this is the IPI, and then this is the PRO I'm with, the affiliation. So I'm with ASCAP, I'm with BMI, I'm with whoever. The publishing account is technically a separate account, and that's also going to have a separate IPI number, right? And so these are important to add to works. Now, most PROs around the world will make you sign up for a writer account and a publishing account for you to collect everything that you're owed, okay? That's the way that most places work. ASCAP is included in that. Let's say that at ASCAP, you set up a writer account, but you do not set up a publishing account, and you are technically the owner, you're the publisher. You're going to miss out on half of your money at ASCAP if you don't create that publishing account. So I advise people who are with ASCAP, set up an account for both. They're separate accounts, but you need to do that to collect everything that you're owed. And that's the way that most PROs around the world work. BMI is a little bit strange. I fully admit it. We do something where we also have writer accounts and we have publishing accounts, the same as everybody else. But we offer a service, if you will, where if you are the writer and you're technically the owner, you're the publisher, but you do not want to spend the money to set up a publishing account, that's okay with us. You can just list your writer account. And let's say that you're owed 100% of the writing and 100% of the publishing. You can just list your writer account in the writer section, and you can list the ownership as 200%. And what that really means is that you're getting 100% of the writing and 100% of the publishing, but we're routing it all into your songwriter account. And you just leave the publishing section blank.
Yeah, David, that's where a lot of people screw up because
yes.
I think that's where they put the same number under publisher.
Yeah, so you could just list your writer account and double the share, and then you can and you can get that. Now, if you have a publishing account, absolutely feel free to use that.
But would that screw them up if they did put 100% on writer and then use the same number for publisher and did 100% for publisher?
The system would automatically reject that.
Whoa,
okay. You're adding a writer account in a publisher section. So you would just have to write it all in the writer section.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, so it's good to know. So with us, yeah. And that messes a lot of people up because if you're with ASCAP, you're like, hey, you got to have a publishing account. And if you see your BMI friend who's registering it and not listing it, you're like, you're messing up. And that's not necessarily true because BMI offers a service that other places don't. So Carrie, I hope that answered your question. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's great. I mean, Michelle even asked me to do a publishing thing once, and I'm like, that's fine. I mean, I need to do that. So let me just say that I'm not.
If you work in sync, Carrie, you really need to have a publishing company.
Yeah, if I'm going to do that, that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
My question was, let's see, if I decided, but when I decide to do this and pay the money, am I going to have to go back to all my 100 songs and have them routed to the publishing part I just made, or
well, you're not. You're not going to have to, but you will have to email me or one of my colleagues, and then we will update all of those works for you. So we will go through all of the works. But yeah, so when a work is registered, it's not set in stone. You can update the work. The only thing that you can't do is change someone else's share on the work. We can change their share, but we need to make sure that everybody's on the same page. So for instance, I couldn't call a colleague at BMI and say, take Michael Jackson off Beat It. I wrote the song and now I'm going to get all the royalties. They would say, you got to loop in Michael's estate and the publisher, and then he's got to agree to that before I could update that. But assuming that the estate said, no, actually, David did write the song while he was 2 years old, then I could technically be added to that song. So that's the way that there has to go through proper permissions. But yes, if you're setting up a publishing account later, we can always add that publishing account. It's no problem at all. I do want to say real fast, because you touched on something important there. A lot of people ask me at BMI when I explain the whole, you don't have to set up a publishing account thing. They say, well, then why would anybody ever pay the money to set up a publishing account if you could just collect it all through your writer account for free? Which is a good question. And there are a few benefits to setting up a publishing account. One of them is that when you search your songs on the public search on our website, if you have a publishing account, you can actually list contact information. You can say, if you want to use this song, email this email or call this number. And so if there's a music supervisor who's trying to get a hold of you, they can do that. We don't list public contact information for individual songwriters for privacy reasons. But you can add one if you have a publishing account. So that's one thing. The second thing is that, as I mentioned before, most PROs around the world make you have a publishing account. And so when you do have a publishing account, it kind of plays nice with all of our foreign partners around the world. It lowers the probability that there's going to be any mistakes or any misallocation of funds or anything like that. Does it happen all the time? No, but I think having a publishing account lowers the probability that something is going to be mislinked somewhere down the line. And another thing is that let's say that you do a song with your friend and they say, you can own my portion of publishing. I'll be the songwriter, but you can own my publishing. If you're ever publishing shares for someone other than yourself, you have to set up a publishing account. You can't do that through your writer account. So those are a few reasons why it's good to have a publishing account. And I'll pause there because I see some hands. So I guess Nathan.
Hey, how's it going? I put a couple of questions in the chat, but I can rattle them off pretty quick. First question was, how is BMI different from SoundCloud and others in collecting royalties from various streaming sources? And do they overlap, or does BMI supersede SoundCloud and other entities like that?
So it's a good question. So SoundCloud is a platform that you can play music on, right? And just like Spotify or Apple Music or Pandora or YouTube, et cetera, et cetera. These platforms will sometimes, many times, offer some sort of royalty. And sometimes they offer multiple royalties depending on how their system works and how they use music. If they use music in multiple ways, they might have to pay multiple royalties. If they use music in just one way, maybe they pay one royalty, right? So there's royalties there. What we do at BMI is we're actually not a platform that plays music at all. We actually will work with SoundCloud, we'll work with Spotify, we'll work with all of these places, and we will collect performance royalties from them if their business is performing music out loud. So we're collecting one of the royalties that they generate. And so we're getting money from them that they make that's allocated for songwriters and publishers for performance royalties. And then we're distributing it out to our members. I don't know if that made sense. I tried to explain that the way I could.
When you've got royalties sitting in a bank account over there at SoundCloud, does BMI take the initiative to gather those and distribute those?
Yes, but this is good because I want to explain how our royalty specifically works. A lot of people think that it's like someone plays your song on Spotify and it's like, cha-ching, you made exactly this much and it goes to a bank account. And that is absolutely not the way that it works. The real way it works is that you have a service that is generating money, and we will go to them and say, hey, you're playing music out loud. We represent X amount of songwriters and publishers who have X amount of works. So you should pay us a certain percentage of your income. And we negotiate some deal. It's always negotiated differently. But the goal is to get as much from them as possible to fairly compensate our members and to get as best data from them as possible as to what they played. Once we have the data and we have the earnings, we then try to link up all that data with whatever's been registered in our system. So if you're a songwriter or publisher, you sign up to us, you register your songs. If we see that song pop up on the data that we got from that business, we'll link it up. We link up as much as we can, and then we pay it out. So really, we have a pie of money, and that pie is always changing every quarter. We're getting different amounts of money from that business, and we're getting a different amount of slices in the pie for how many streams. And so every quarter, the slice of your pie that we calculate is going to be slightly different. So if you don't register your songs, or if things aren't linked up properly, everybody else's slice just got a little bit bigger. So there is no set rate for what we pay. We are recalculating our rates every single quarter. And that's why it's important. That's why I do these talks, because it's important that you sign up to a PRO. It doesn't, by the way, I hope it's BMI, but it doesn't have to be. It could be any PRO. You can sign up, register your works. That way, if your music is being performed by places, you can claim your piece of the pie. Because if not, other people are going to get bigger slices of pie, and you're going to be without it. Now, there is a buffer. You don't have to register things immediately. For instance, we just had a distribution where we paid out earnings a couple weeks ago, and we were paying out the fourth quarter of 2024, the fourth quarter of last year. So if your song was being streamed in October, November, December of last year, we just paid that out a couple weeks ago in May. And so that kind of gives you an idea of the amount of buffer time you have to get things registered. If you get it registered late, maybe you missed that first quarter, but then maybe you're starting to collect all the streams from the quarters after that. So this is how that works. Yeah.
Well, I'm a fairly new. I have a fairly new publishing agreement with BMI, and utilizing the IPI number for the publishing company on songs that have been distributed. But there's also songs as a performer on other people's material. Do I need a separate IPI number, or can I use my corporation publishing number?
If you're a writer and a publisher on the song, you want to add your writer account with that number, and you want to add your publishing account with that number, and you're also going to add all the other writers and publishers. Make sure the full split picture is added in that work.
Well, what I'm saying is, if somebody else is the publisher of that material, but they're distributing to collaborators, do I use the IPI for my publishing company or for my writer account?
If someone else is the publisher, then they would have to put their publishing information on that song, and they would probably register it. But yeah, I mean, you're going to put all writers and all publishers when you register the song.
Understood, but I have an IPI for my publishing as a publisher agreement. Is that different from an IPI number for a writer's agreement?
It is, yeah.
So
you're going to add your writer account with the writer IPI, and then you're going to add the publishing account with the publisher IPI.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I understand.
Yeah.
So who's next? Is it Juanita?
Yes.
Yes. Hello. How are you?
I'm good.
Nice, nice. So my question is, I'm a member of BMI since 2010. Having fun, getting royalties, but I'm from Colombia, South America. So for me my question is relating to communications. I'm having trouble communicating via email. I understand that you guys are super busy and helping some writers, but in my case, the response is taking 6 months,
yeah,
up to a year. So my question is related how what I have to do in order to not say a faster response, but communicating better and also communicating for creative opportunities.
Absolutely. So, who are you reaching out to? Like, where are you sending those emails?
Oh, I just verify that. 3 seconds, please.
Sure. While you're doing that, I just want to say, because we have, there is a lot of volume and we're trying to work on our response times. I personally get back to people quickly, but we have a lot of general inboxes that take a very long time. Um, and so basically what I was going to say is we actually just implemented a customer service line, and there's actually like 20 people that take calls and field calls all day. And so they've been getting back to people a lot quicker. I can also give you my personal email. For creative opportunities, you typically want to reach out to the office that you're closest to, because that's where the creative opportunities come from. But again, if you'd like, I can share my email after this and make sure that I can help, or I can introduce you to one of my colleagues to help. So
Perfect. I will love that. And the oh my god, it's just my internet is not working as it should be working. No, let me. No, why? Why?
We could hear you, Juanito, but like if you could
Oh,
do it
perfect.
from, yeah, we can hear you.
Perfect. Yeah, it's because I'm looking the email that I'm communicating. So, and also I'm interested, of course, in getting direct contact with BMI through
absolutely.
you. Yes, perfect. Thank you.
I can share my email after. Absolutely. Yeah.
Perfecto.
Thank you. Okay, so we have Anwesa.
Yes. Hi.
Hi.
How do you know where my song is playing? How would you know that?
Well, we get data from businesses, and every business is going to give us data in a different way. So I'll give you some examples. And by the way, I will tell you right now, it is not a perfect system, but we're always working to get closer to perfection. We may never get there, but let's say that your song is played on a streaming service like Spotify or Apple Music or one of these. Typically, we get great data from them. They're giving us a giant Excel spreadsheet that says, this song was played this many times with this artist name in this country as part of our premium service or as part of our ad service or whatever it is, right? And so we get that in a giant Excel spreadsheet. We link that up with the registrations in our database, and we go from there. Let's say that it's on TV. Well, for TV shows, the production company actually compiles something called a cue sheet. And the cue sheet lists every piece of music used in that whole show. They list, the time it was played, what type of usage it is, all sorts of things. So we collect cue sheets from them and we link it up. For radio, sometimes we use like a third party, like Nielsen type service to give us data and collect from radio. It's kind of different for every service, right? If you go into a restaurant and they're playing your song and you see that the way that they're playing it is someone has a 10-year-old iPod that they're playing and it's not connected to anything, we're probably not receiving that data, right? Another thing that we typically aren't receiving data from is like if you play a live show in the US. Now the promoter is supposed to send us information, but most of the time they don't. And for this, we actually unveiled something at BMI a number of years back called BMI Live. And BMI Live allows you to input your shows to us directly. So you can say, I played this show in Kansas, and these are the songs in my catalog that I performed, and it was at this venue. We will then verify that that show happened. We'll talk to the venue, or we'll look at their calendar. And as soon as we verify that, if they are a licensed venue and they pay BMI a license, then you'll get some portion of that license fee for that quarter. And so you can always enter your US shows through BMI Live. It's only for the US since those are the businesses we license directly, but there's other ways for international shows that forms that we have, and we can reach out to other international PROs as well. So hopefully that kind of answers your question a little bit.
Yeah, it does answer. And the second question is, what do publishing companies do if there's ever a lawsuit with a songwriting thing?
They work it out and they do it typically outside of BMI, and then they let us know, and then we update things accordingly. It's kind of like we are like the database, and so if there's a dispute between two writers or two publishers or a writer and a publisher, we have them kind of work it out amongst themselves. So those are the owner parties. We don't technically own anything at BMI, right? We're just providing a service. Once they have worked it out, if the by the end of it, it's this publisher needs to be removed from this writer, or this publisher needs to stay on all these works, whatever the resolution is, we will make sure that our database reflects that. Yeah.
But what if it's a copyright lawsuit?
Same exact situation. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Looks like we also have a question from Ryan. Ryan, go for it.
Right, yeah.
Hello. Hey, David. How are you?
Hi, Ryan.
So my question is, at what time, well, so I've encountered this a few times and I haven't been able to figure out how or why this happens. At what time would a writer be registered, let's say with BMI as a writer, yet their publishing is with ASCAP by any other name? I mean, because it's only come up a few times and there's some, they've been anomalous. And I honestly am like, are you sure this, like, well, so I work in sync, I rep artists and, you know, for sync, they give me their information. I try to be really on top of all of this. And it's come up a few times where this kind of thing will be shown. And I'm like, are you sure that this is correct? And I'm asking writer X, but they're in touch with writer Y. And they're like, yeah, that's what they said. I'm like, all right. But so, yeah, I wasn't sure what that was about.
Oh,
And-
Ryan, that sounds confusing for you.
Yes, it's strange.
Well, let me try to clear this up. Writer accounts and publishing accounts are kind of linked in a way. So if you're a writer with BMI, in order to collect your publishing shares, you would need a BMI publishing account. They need to be one-to-one like that. If you're an ASCAP writer, you would need an ASCAP publishing account to collect your shares. And this is kind of how that normally works. So normally it should be ASCAP to ASCAP, BMI to BMI, CSAC to CSAC, etc. The only time that it doesn't have to be exactly like this is when there's a foreign. So let's say that there's a BMI writer, but there is a publishing account from PRS, who's the PRO over in the UK. That works. That's okay, right? But within the United States, it should be one-to-one. Now, there are some exceptions. So let's say that I am a writer with BMI. I have a BMI writer account. I have a BMI publishing account. And I register 100 works and it's all fine. And then I'm really angry that BMI didn't get back to me in 6 months or something. And I leave and I go to ASCAP, okay? So let's say I go to ASCAP. Well, those original 100 works that I had registered and been with BMI on, BMI is still going to license those works in the United States. And the publisher on those old works will still be a BMI publisher, although the writer is now with ASCAP, okay? So in this situation, there's going to be a mismatch, but that's because they used to be with BMI and the publisher is still BMI, but now they have moved over to ASCAP, and so as a writer, they are with ASCAP, okay? So sometimes you're going to see differences there. If you're registering a new work, it should never be different like that. It should be the same, okay? If you do try to register that, it's probably going to, like I know at least with us, it's going to reject it. It's not even going to let you register it like that. And so that's something to keep in mind. And the other thing I'll say is that there's a misconception where people think that it's actually a good thing to set up a BMI writer account and an ASCAP publisher account or vice versa. So like, well, I'll be with both. No, you have to. It's not the way. The only reason why you would set up multiple accounts with different PROs is, let's say that I'm a publisher. Let's say that I'm a big publisher and I have 20 writers that I'm publishing. Okay. Maybe 10 of those writers are with ASCAP, but the other 10 are with BMI. Well, in order to collect the publishing shares from those ASCAP writers, I'm going to need to create a publishing account with ASCAP. And in order to collect the BMI writers publishing, I'm going to have to create a publishing account with BMI. So I'm going to have multiple publishing accounts with different PROs. That way I can collect the publishing from all these different writers, right? So that makes sense. But if you're a writer with one and a publisher with another, and you're trying to, that's typically not the way it's supposed to work. Michelle, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, one quick thing, which was that a lot of times, like with PRS, which is the Performing Rights Organization of the UK, they don't allow the writers to have publishing accounts. And so many times the writers will form a BMI publishing account, or they'll form an ASCAP publishing account. So then there'll be a PRS writer with the BMI publishing account. So it happens that way too, from a lot of the foreign PROs who don't allow you to have a publishing account if you're a writer.
Yeah, there's some international works a little bit differently. So
But then you would still see on the registration PRS writer, BMI publisher.
yeah.
Okay.
Ryan, does that make sense how I laid it out there?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, well, and just like a little side note question, the terms for, let's say for BMI, they can be as short as how long and as long as how long. It could be like I mean, in terms of I sign with BMI, how long, and circling back to the main point of, so if this guy registered 5 songs with BMI and then he went to ASCAP at some point, just kind of trying to get a handle on what the range is.
Yeah, and that's a good question. So let's say that I am not in the United States. Let's say I'm in Canada. Okay. Canada has one PRO for the whole country, and it's called SOCAN. And that's it. Okay. If I want to leave SOCAN, I can tell them, and they'll probably say I can just leave the next quarter. There's no like long-term dates. They're pretty easy there, right? But for the US, you sign up to a US PRO, and a lot of times there's like these long-term dates. It's like you're locked in as a writer for 2 years, or you're locked in for 3 years, and the reason why that is in the US is because, remember I said that the downside to having multiple PROs is it makes the licensing way more complex. Let's say at BMI, if we go to NBC and we say, hi, NBC, we control this amount of music, so you should pay us accordingly. And we do some multi-year deal with them. Well, maybe 1 year into that deal, a huge composer leaves and goes to ASCAP. Well, that's going to mess up the whole calculation there. So that's why we kind of keep works for longer. And that's why there's term dates so that we can represent, we're going to have this amount of music for at least this long, right? It gives us time to kind of work with other licensees in the United States. So with BMI, our writer accounts are 2-year terms. So when you sign up, you're locking yourself in for 2 years. And at the end of that 2 years, you do have an ability to terminate every 2 years. And if you don't terminate, if you do nothing, it just re-ups for another 2 years, and it constantly goes. So every 2 years, essentially, you have the ability to leave. For our publishing accounts, it's a 5-year term. So every 5 years, you have the ability to terminate with BMI as a publisher. ASCAP, I think, has different terms. I think I don't want to speak for ASCAP. I think they used to be 1 year. I heard that they switched it to 2 years for writers. I'm not sure on the publishing side. I heard CSAC was 3 years, but yeah, again, I don't want to speak too much about them just because, so I'll just speak with BMI. But yeah, that's generally how it works. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, everybody. These were really great questions, and wow, David, so much information. So is there anything you want to talk before we end today about the creative aspect of what you do and how people can get involved, or if there's anything at all that you want to add to that?
Yeah, I would just say check out our calendar of events. We're always putting up new calendar events for our writers and trying to do new workshops. If you're a member of BMI, please check out Spark. There's a lot of great stuff in there, and we're going to be updating it going forward. You know, working here at BMI has been a true honor for me because I feel like it's rare in the music industry to not have to be like a snake oil salesman to be. And I feel like I'm in this like really rare position where I have some stability, right? And I can just help people without having to worry about the bottom line or without coming at it from some sort of angle. We're kind of just like an honest third party. And a lot of us stay at the company for a really long time. So sometimes we're one of the only steady things in someone's career. I just had multiple writers this week tell me that the fact that I'm still in this position after 7 years gives them comfort and allows them to sleep at night. I would say, definitely, whether you're with us or not, reach out to your PRO and connect, because it's always just good to have an extra resource. And Juanito, I'm going to share my email in the chat right now.
Perfect. As you're doing that, I'm just going to remind everyone, we are Pandion 2025, 501c3 nonprofit. We provide to our community skill building opportunities for all of you music creators in Los Angeles and beyond to cultivate a long lasting music career and life in music through our online and in-person workshops, wellness support, and scholarship-based mentorship programs. PMF fosters a community where creators from diverse backgrounds and identities have the support, tools, resilience they need to keep music making in this industry. So that's us. And David, you gave a lot about yourself, and I just really happy that you're here with us. Anything you want to add before we leave?
It was a pleasure to do this. Thank you so much for having me. Thanks everybody for not going outside and staying in during this lovely day.
Beautiful day.
Pleasure though.
And then one more thing, are you doing Ask Me Anything on Facebook with us?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So those of you that had questions, I apologize. You can ask questions on Facebook. There's always a replay on our website for this if you want to share with your friends. We'll have you, David, and we'll share with you your replay as well. You can share it with your people, and thank you again. And we'll see you. Oh, what's happening next week? Let's see. We got next week's workshop, grant writing, funding your music dreams with Mallory Wallace?
Mallory Wallace.
Mallory Wallace. Yes. So that's
Next
happening
Wednesday.
next Wednesday at 3:00.
Yes.
Okay, great. We'll look forward to seeing you then. Have a good day, everybody, and go and enjoy the sun if you have any.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, David.
Thank
Bye
you.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.